Today on the Next, our guest is Jay Singh, co-founder and CEO of Casper Studios. Casper Studios is a New York-based AI product studio that designs and develops custom AI solutions for startups, as well as building their own AI products in-house. Before founding Casper Studios, Jay spent over 5 years at LinkedIn, where he played a pivotal role in expanding identity verification services globally, including markets like India, Europe, and Latin America. Now, I actually reached out to Jay cold because he was building this agency, Casper Studios. He's been doing it a few years now, focused squarely on AI products, and I really wanted to know what was going on under the hood at one of these companies. And Jay was kind enough to take my call and to agree to come on the show. We talked about the founding story for Casper Studios, how it started as a nights and weekends endeavor. We talked about what first led Jay to get down the path with AI tools and how that exploration has gone, which things he's doing himself as a non-engineer and which things he's recruited partners for. We talk about the customer profile and how initially it was kind of a wide range, but they've been zeroing in on the creator market because creators have big followings and a lot of ways that they can monetize and stuff they can build, but they don't necessarily have technical teams in-house, and AI is a nice fit to leverage both for building the products as well as the functionality that the products can have as well. And we also talk about Jay's plans for Casper Studios. We talk about where this is going. We talk about what the implications of AI will be for the agency world. And we talk about what kinds of products Jay is most excited about. At any rate, this is a good one, and I hope you enjoy it. But before we get started, I'm Jason Jacobs, and this is the Next. It's not really a show, it's more of a learning journey to explore how founders can build ambitious companies while being present for family and not compromising flexibility and control, and also how emerging AI tools can assist with that. Each week, we bring on guests who are at the tip of the spear on redefining how ambitious companies get built, and selfishly, the goal is for this to help me better understand how to do that myself while bringing all of you along for the ride. Not sure where this is going to go, but it's going to be fun. Okay, Jay Singh, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks for accepting my cold LinkedIn outreach with no warm connections or credibility. So I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time. And we didn't even do a prep call. We're just doing it live here.
I respect anybody who does that because I do it all the time myself.
Yeah, but the reason I reached out is that seemingly it seemed like you were at LinkedIn for a while and you were doing various things in sales and business development, and you left a few years ago and started a firm that is building AI applications for clients and also building your own products in-house. And I don't know a ton more than that, to be honest, but I'm really interested to learn. And generally at the Next, if I'm having a discussion where I'm excited to learn and the person's comfortable, I just record it so that other people can learn too. So here we are.
I love it. I love it.
Kicking things off, maybe just talk a bit about Casper Studios and what you do.
Sounds good. I also like the bent that you take with your guests around more personal upbringing and everything too. So I'm going to give an intro on that, and then I'll get to the business. Does that sound okay?
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool. A lot of it connects to me in terms of
I would have asked you that next anyway. So yeah. So it's.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it you sooner. Yeah, I was born in the Bay Area. Both parents are Indian immigrants. Came to the Bay Area in the 90s. Classic kind of immigrant story of dad was a cab driver, mom supported him. They both became real estate agents, like businesses. And I've always been an entrepreneur, not because they really had a choice, because that's just the only way that they could have earned a keep. We immigrated then to Canada. That's where most of my formative years were, from 11 till after graduating college to Vancouver. I went to university at UBC, which is a really beautiful campus and college on the west side of Vancouver. And
you a skier or a snowboarder?
Yeah, I didn't realize how good I had it, but I literally learned how to snowboard on Whistler Mountain. And later I only recognized how good I had it. Got into it a lot more actually during COVID, which is great. I then graduated, came down to LinkedIn. I started working at LinkedIn out of school, was in their sales team and product team and then BD teams. started our verification effort. So if you see any check marks on your LinkedIn profile, that was a small team that myself and a few engineers then helped scale up to around 50 million members verified over the course of a year and a half. That was a ton of fun. Was a deal lead for LinkedIn and Clear, LinkedIn and Persona, and a couple other government bodies across the world. And then I leveraged some of those relationships and insights to learn more about AI. Microsoft owns LinkedIn. And so at the time, this was the summer of 2022, the teams at Microsoft were really excited about this new interesting AI company called OpenAI. I don't know if you've heard of them. And so got a little bit of a sneak peek, like literally 2 months ahead of the world to be like, what, this is going to be really interesting. And so I've always been interested in new technology. So just started to hack away on the side with a few friends. One of those products that we built, it's a Chrome extension, ended up getting up to 20,000 users. And while that wasn't the big success, we just used that as a way to go out and ask other founders and other businesses, hey, if you need help designing and building AI products, we're not necessarily experts at the time. We just said that all once, but if you need help, let us know. And so I've effectively just been saying that for the past 2 years.
And was that nights and weekends at the time, or did
exactly,
you?
yeah. I did that for a year part-time and then earned enough revenue to be able to feel confident to make the jump early last year.
Got it. I have more questions about that, but maybe just skip ahead for a minute and talk about Casper Studios and what you do.
Yep. So the business helps creators and founders to be able to design and build AI products. We then use those learnings to be able to design and build our own. I then share all of that on LinkedIn and social media to be able to help attract more creators and founders. And so that's the main key flywheel that I'm starting to see more iterations on. We help other people build products. Because of that, we learn what's going on, so we build our own. And I'm able to share a lot of that myself on LinkedIn. That helps us to attract more customers. That's the business today.
Nice. And so when you first started messing around with these tools, so you're not a technologist by training, correct?
I'm just the BD guy.
Yeah, like me. Tell me a bit about that exploration. Where did you start? How did it go? What'd you learn?
Yeah. Uh, I was very grateful for my time at LinkedIn, actually. I became the new tech kid. They put me on Web3 for a little bit when that was a thing. And then when AI started coming up again, too, they were like, just go figure out what's going on here. And so that actually, it was awesome that they provided me the opportunity to go get paid to learn and share insights back to the team. And whether it was beating other startups in the space and just generally trying to help LinkedIn get up to speed on what was happening. This was almost 3 years ago now. So that is what kind of got me into the space more through work. And it just, like everybody else, when you start playing around with these tools, and this captures your attention. And that was how that original journey started for me.
Got it. And at what point did it switch from playing around and getting to know the tools to building things? And what was the first thing that you built?
Yeah. Also related to some of the work that I was doing at LinkedIn. So the BD function in a lot of these tech companies, but at least at LinkedIn, a lot of it is around being able to understand ecosystem insights and be able to then share it with your internal product teams to help them make decisions on what products they should launch, what markets they should get into. And so a lot of that work was just reading a lot of articles, getting up to speed with whatever TechCrunch articles there were. If an X competitor launched a similar feature in a different region, we'd always get these emails being sent by our CEO saying, what does this mean for us? You drop everything, you'd have to read a bunch of articles, get up to speed on it, and then create the so what for the company. So I'd say half of that time was just reading. And so I was using Playground at the time. This is before ChatGPT, just to copy paste articles, dump it into Playground, and then be able to get a summary of it. I felt like I was cheating a little bit at the time because I was able to get the summary of at least that news insight really quickly. And so I was like, wow, it would be really great if we could actually just be able to have this experience wherever you are. And so just put together a PRD, shared it with a few designer friends, and just let it go. I didn't really think much about it. One of those designers ended up shipping that PRD of a Chrome extension that could help summarize content really easily on a web page using AI. He designed a Figma prototype of it, and I was like, holy shit, this needs to be in the world immediately. And then like a traveling salesperson just took the Figma around to other friends that were engineering counterparts to see if they could build it out for us. And that was our first product. That was a product that ended up getting up to 20,000 users, of helping users to summarize web pages really easily using AI.
Got it. And with the success of that product, what was the next step from there? And also, were you still thinking about it as just a hobby to learn at this point, or how did that transition start occurring where you felt like maybe this could be something more?
Yeah, it's a good question. At the time, it was more just a hobby and a way for me to learn what the best in class technology is. So honestly, just help my day job. And I think when I realized that this could become a business was when we brought on our first customer, and they were like, "Hey, we want to be able to design and build an AI product as well. Here's our unique insight on the market. Can you help us do that?" And we did that on nights and weekends, myself and our designer and our engineer that had built that original Chrome extension. And this, I think getting paid for building a product for somebody else was the first time I was like, "Oh, what is this business called?" I was like, "Oh, it's an agency. Interesting. Let me learn more about that." And so that was the first time where I was like, "Okay, if I can get X amount more of these, I can cover my salary, and then that'll lead to Y amount." And so that was the early days of building out the business.
Uh-huh. And so in those earliest days, were the roles on the team pretty similar to if it wasn't building AI products and it was just traditional software?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We had someone who's more familiar with ML and AI that we're building on top of these models, but in reality, it could have also just been a full stack developer who wanted to learn like how these models work, how these APIs work. I don't think you necessarily, at least for the products that we're developing, need to have some crazy expertise in AI. Well, we do have that on the team. At least at that stage, we had that on our team. But I think any full stack developer that really wants to lean in and learn these models, learn prompting, learn how they all work, understand the pros and cons of each of these can become really valuable to teams instead of necessarily coming from an AI background.
And what about a non-full stack developer who might not be an engineer at all? Maybe they come from a sales and business development background like you, for example. If they want to bring AI products into the world, should they go find someone technical to build it like you did? Or do you think the tools are getting to a place where they can build products themselves?
I think I heard you say something like this in a podcast, but I think it's important for people to know what their zone of genius is and what gives them a lot of energy. What gives me a lot of energy is having conversations like this, meeting with potential founders, like understanding what they want to build, and then inspiring a team, whether it's our team or the client's team, to be able to build that. That's always been my skill set and where I like to spend time. For me, I never really thought about building a one person shop the entire time, even if the AI tools are getting to a place where I could do that. The reality on the field is that you can build really great kind of early versions of a product, quick proof of concepts, like early MVPs using no code automation tools. You can use Cursor, you can spin up designs in V0. But to actually have a customer feel like you can launch it to hundreds of thousands of users or even tens of thousands of daily active users, like I still want to be able to have the stamp of approval from a really competent engineer that they've been able to build that product and a really competent designer that they've been able to design that product. Um, Long-winded way to say it, just understand what you like, and if you want to be able to lean in to build these tools, have at it. That's awesome. For me, I've always wanted to come with my product strategy, my BD lens, and also team that up with design and engineering. So it could be a smaller team, it could be like a 3-person team instead of a 6-person team because of AI tools. But I still want to have those experts around me as
And maybe talk a bit about the types of projects you did initially and how that's evolved over time. And then the same question in terms of the types of clients that you worked with initially and how that's evolved over time in no particular order.
I mean, first year of business, just trying to sign whoever to be able to, earn a keep and start bootstrapping. We haven't raised any outside capital. So effectively anybody that was coming inbound and asked for a little bit of AI support or AI product development, we were focusing on them. The customers in the first year of business were ran the gamut, whether it was one of the top 20 fiction book publishers in the US who wanted us to be able to design and build a product that would help authors to give feedback using like LLMs for their manuscripts. And that was like a product that we designed and built. A PR agency in Singapore that wanted to be able to automate their own internal processes, externalize a product, and then give that to founders to create PR campaigns. Um, and so there was a creator that wanted to be able to partner with us to learn what her audience wants and be able to design and build a product that fits the content she shares to that audience. And those are a couple of kind of examples of some of the customers we worked with early on. That last example actually has been important because I've understood that maybe our niche should be with more of those people and I can share why, which is helping establish creators to be able to design and build AI products. That's actually been our, like this year, that's been our ICP, that's been our focus. And it's opening up a lot of really great opportunities with folks that are, I think on the surface are, they feel like creators, but in reality, the scale that they're at is like a Series B, Series C company. They're doing like $10 million of revenue a year. They have like massive audiences. And I want to position our business to be able to help those established creators to be able to monetize their audience through software development.
And what are some examples of how software development might enable those creators to monetize their audience?
I think creators as an industry, or creators as like a type of person in the economy, I think a lot more influence is going to go towards that segment of the population. We're already seeing it. The election last year was coined the podcast election. More capital is flowing into these creators. Today, you really just see a very large amount of inequality between the economic success of these creators. The top 1%, top 5% making quite a bit of capital. And I think on average, the creators outside of that bucket are making like $40,000 a year. So there's a very big gap. That being said, I think over time, we'll have more influence go to these individual creators, more influence will come in more capital. And that's the tailwind that I want to try to also align our business with. The question was around like why build software for audience still?
The question was, you'd made the comment that software can help them better monetize their audiences. So it'd be great to understand. I didn't ask this first part in the initial question, but I'm going to add it now. What ways they're typically monetizing their audience, and then how software can help them either monetize in those ways better or monetize in additional or alternative ways.
Yeah, great question. So today, the way that creators will make their capital, it'll be a mix between maybe like brand deals, advertising relationships with companies to be able to share about those companies on their content. YouTube is by far like the platform that creators will make the most amount of capital, both from YouTube revenue share that is offered to them and also the brand deals that go, like brands feel more comfortable advertising with creators on YouTube because it's just like longer form content, and the rates could be higher for creators because you have their attention longer than short form content. And it's a mix between brand deals like YouTube rev share, it could be digital courses, like these types of like levers. And I think building a product company is still not necessarily spoken about. I think the networks are not, they don't speak to each other that often. Obviously, you have successes of like creators that are building software products. James Clear is one example. He's built his book. He created his book, Atomic Habits, and then built an application that would align to support the problems that reader had, which was that, okay, I've read this book. I don't know how to track my habits. Can you help me with that as well? And so he designed and built a mobile app to help them track their habits better. And so those are some of the revenue streams that they're making today. And then it's a curiosity to maybe explore software development as one way to also monetize.
And I'm curious, when you say AI applications, it's still a little confusing to me because AI can help build applications. And so I think leveraging AI to build software is part of the AI story. And then having functionality within the products that leverage AI to fulfill it is also AI. When you say AI applications for customers or creators, what do you mean?
It's external facing products that are leveraging AI in the background, and our team is using AI to be able to make our works more efficient. But when I'm talking about developing and designing AI products, just think like a software product, and that software product has AI at its core.
Do you think that the amount that a team uses AI in their product functionality and the amount that they're using it for their internal development tend to go together? Or do you see wide disparity sometimes where they might not have it in their products but use it a bunch internally, or vice versa?
It's a good question. I think the more that customers are experimenting internally to just help their workflows, they start to then think of ideas. They're like, oh, why don't I just make this into a product that I can sell to customers? I mostly see that happening where internal automations and optimizations, even just using ChatGPT for themselves, they're realizing, wow, okay, if I can do this plus this, like maybe I could actually monetize off of this and make some money off of it. I rarely see the opposite happening. It's mostly just internal first and then external.
And a bit of a different question, but for clients who might come to you, do they tend to come when they have a specific product that they want to build, or do you tend to get them at the stage where we're on the treadmill over here, just building and maintaining what we already have, but we keep hearing about this AI wave and we're worried we're going to get left behind, but we don't know where to start.
I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. Let's say they have an existing business. They are curious about how to be able to build a product. They keep hearing about AI and they're wondering if they can connect those kind of two concepts together. And so we actually do a lot of just like general like product strategy work before we even start building the product. I think that's where our team can, we're not just like the dev shop effectively. Like you can come to us and we'll think through the market, we'll think through the strategy. I'll put my BD hat on, go talk to all the founders of the companies that are peers of this potential product that can all help guide what that product should look like. So it's rarely they have a very specific idea of what they want to be able to build. They have an idea, and then it's our job to be able to help guide that to the right um, initial product to be able to develop. So yeah, somewhere in the middle.
And do you tend to stay engaged after the initial product is built and launched, or are you more about spinning it up and then passing it off to maintain and improve?
It depends on the team and the team structure that they have. We found that actually when we worked with founders, we would do a really good job, but then they have like team members to be able to take it internally. And so we started to see the creator customers that we had, they didn't have access to the type of talent that we were as readily. We're a commodity for startups effectively after we build out that initial kind of like a POC or MVP for them, because if they're well funded, they've already hired other people who used to work at LinkedIn or Google, et cetera. We found that for creators, because the networks aren't as collaborative, we can actually benefit them over the long term. But even for them, it just depends. If they have a team internally, they'll take it internally. But we offer monthly maintenance contracts as well to be able to keep the product live or continuing to ship features for it.
So it sounds like the fruit is riper for creators who don't have sophisticated technical teams in-house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for companies that do have sophisticated technical teams in-house, but have not historically done much with AI, what's different about it? Is it just about switching your attention the way you would from building in this language to building in that language, or is there more to it?
I think a lot of it will come down to, because we're building these products for a bunch of different customers, like we can try to help them sift through the noise a little bit faster versus them just doing it themselves. So we know, these are to spend like a month trying to mess around with this model, with this architecture, but maybe just try this because we already did that a month and a half ago. Or maybe we have preferred partners or vendors that we're working with, so we might have extra credits or something that we can provide to people. And so I think the difference when people come to us is I think people just trust our perspective when it comes to like how to build and design these products, whether it's from product strategy all the way to the design of the product as well. Um, so that's how we usually end up helping and winning.
And I guess what's different about how you work, either the way you work and process or the skill sets required on the team, given that you're focused on AI applications versus if it was just web
Yeah.
or mobile applications without incorporating AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're seeing our growth start to pick up quite a bit from a revenue perspective. And our business is still in a state where AI is not going to automate all of this work. It's going to be like, I need to staff more people to be able to go with this client. So I'm hiring a lot right now. And what I'm looking for is someone who has good, let's say, engineering skill set or good design skill set, but has been messing around with these AI tools. I start to see that there's like a divergence of engineers or designers that they are very good at what they do and they are very proud of what they do. And a lot of them may see AI as a cheap tool or something that's getting them away from their craft, which is very fair. I think we can talk about maybe why I agree with that in some sense. At the same time, for people that are going to be coming onto the team, I need to see that they've been experimenting with these tools a little bit. I need to see that they've been up to speed with, if they're a designer, have you used V0? Have you even tried it out yet? And if the answer is no, then I'm like, okay, why? I would probably be messing around with this tool a little bit and tell me where's the gap? Tell me why it's not valuable. Tell me where it is valuable. Same thing with the cursor, same thing with the GitHub Copilot, like for engineers. Or maybe they've shipped small little POC using LLMs. I want to see that there's some excitement around AI, because if they're not excited about it, then it's like that. How can we help our customers be able to build AI products? We have to be up to speed with everything that's going on as much as we can. So it's less the skill set, it's more the curiosity, because it's such a new space. So everybody can get up to speed on it right now.
And so for the creators that you do work with once you've built a product? I know you said it depends whether you stick around for maintenance or not. What does it depend on? And then when you do the handoff, when it comes to maintaining and improving this stuff internally, if they didn't have teams historically, what kind of teams do they need to get in place, and how is that different, if at all, from how it would have been before AI?
Mm. I don't think, I think you'd be surprised with, it's not too different. I think the difference is likely just the quantity of people that need to support a product. But outside of that, I've really copied and pasted what I've learned at LinkedIn to apply for our customers, right? We'll have a project manager who's split like half of the time with other customers to manage it. We'll have a full-time engineer that's staffed on it to be able to either maintain it or to build more features on it. If they want to move faster, we'll be able to allocate more resources towards it. So I think it's less dramatically different than maybe how people would perceive it from the outside, reading Twitter and saying like one person teams building all these things. We make sure, because we're in the client services business as well, that we do have one person staffed for you to help you. And I'm proud of that. I want to keep doing that. So the creator, what happens in the maintenance mode, I think is how, what the ambition of the application is. So if people want to keep it relatively simple and they don't want to spend a bunch of time on it, and they just want it to be able to monetize a little bit, and they don't want to start a sales team and the whole org around it, then it's actually relatively simple. But some of our creators are building this as a business. And so we will be maybe staffing 2 engineers like on that project and shipping more features. We'll be getting into sprints. So we like focus just like any product development team would be focused on. So yeah, I guess it just depends on the ambition of the creator and why they're building the product in the first place.
And what are some common pitfalls in terms of when clients do reach out, or prospective clients? Do you see them fall into traps and have misconceptions and things like that? And are there parallels across the companies that you hear from?
I think understanding their audience enough is an interesting place that we've been helping creators. They may not know who their audience really is and what they want exactly. Part of that is because the platforms that they build content on don't provide that insight to them really. They have to do more manual efforts, reach out to them, maybe have more FAQ live sessions. It's more human oriented versus just click a couple buttons and see exactly who's in your audience. I know for myself at LinkedIn, I have to scroll through manually to understand insights about my audience. So even for me, I would need help for someone or myself if I had the time for it, just to go deep on my own audience. Oh, Jason's in there. What does Jason want? What is he looking for? What are his problems? How many people like Jason are following me? So thinking through more market insights, product strategy, competitive landscape, user research, more of the early stages of like why you should build a product and how that relates to their audience. I find that to be like a potential pitfall, because you can come in thinking that you know what you want to build, and then we've seen many examples of just like a product that just goes up in usage and then just dies. There was just a little bit of curiosity play versus actually sustaining longer term value to that person. So that's where I think a lot of people may have a pitfall, is right at the beginning stages of like, why are you even doing this and for who, versus just coming in with like a pretty broad idea of that.
And similar to what you were saying about the kind of the bifurcation of the AI curious versus the ones who are almost offended by its mere existence. I think there's a similar bifurcation in terms of, on the one spectrum, if you ask people what the implications of AI will be, they give you the most dramatic version about how, none of us are going to have work to do anymore, and we better pick up some hobbies and stuff like that. And then others who say, like on the other side, it's a lot more incremental. It's really not going to change a lot in the small and medium term. It's just another tool. And yeah, it can drive some efficiency and it can make things easier, and you'd be silly not to use it. But like, the world as we know it is largely going to look like the world as we know it directionally. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's $1 million question. I try to live in the middle somewhere. I think it's prudent on me not to be lost in one camp or the other, and just to be grounded in what's happening. What I'm noticing happening is that the fact that these tools are so readily available for people, it's opening up a new level of creativity and ambition in a lot of folks to create more. And they try the products, they experiment with it, they realize, wow, I could actually do these other things with this, and it creates even more almost like optimism or excitement around wanting to build something. So I think it's like Jeevan's paradox. So the more available something is for people, the more people, and the cheaper it is, the more people want to be able to produce it. I'm definitely seeing that. I have a lot of our clients they come in and they've already built like a Replit, and they built a thing in Cursor, and now it's breaking and it's not really working, but they already got some excited customers on board, and now they need us to actually professionalize it. That's that wouldn't have been an engagement for us unless these tools were so readily available. I think the biggest thing that I'm personally trying to monitor around AI usage is the impact to my critical thinking. I'm worried about that personally. I just like checking my phone now. I go to ChatGPT immediately when I need to think through a problem. And that feels in the short term a nice productivity boost, but in the medium to long term, I likely become redundant. And like, why are people paying, or why would I even have a job then if I'm outsourcing my thinking to this tool that everybody else has access to as well? What is my differentiator over time? I worry about that for myself. And even like with my writing, for example, my best writing was before ChatGPT came out. Was when I had to just sit and look at a Google Doc and like really edit everything and make sure everything was flowing properly. And I'm trying to get rid of those tools now and just focus on my own kind of creative output so I can feel more confident in my critical thinking. I think if we aren't careful about that piece, we'll just outsource everything to this, and it likely will leave us all thinking the same and not thinking uniquely anymore, which I'm concerned about just for myself.
Yeah, I guess the question that comes to mind hearing that is that if you are focused on carving out the time and trying to resist the temptation to turn to the tools, are you doing that because that's going to deliver the best outcome, or are you just doing that as a martyr who doesn't want to accept the fact that we might not be as special as we have historically been told that we are?
Yeah, that's a good question. My thing has been around output. I don't think I'm delivering the best output if I'm just focused right away, being able to outsource my thinking to AI. I think personally, it's my best work is me just with the empty Google Doc thinking and then jumping into it to refine my thought process versus the creation of it.
I'm no expert on the agency world, but I've heard rumblings that as AI tools proliferate, that agencies will be under threat. And here you are on year 2 or 3 of kind of digging in to go and build an agency. Granted, it's in an area where the puck is going, but it by and large is an agency. You use the word. What do you think is going to happen with agencies in general, and what are you seeing? And then how do you think about the implications of that for Casper Studios?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm learning myself about a lot of these business models. Like my background is coming from tech, and my friends are YC founders and doing that kind of thing. And my networks and my learnings actually are not within this type of business model. So frankly, a lot of it for me is also a learning process.
Kudos for
Yeah,
saying that, by the way. I say that
yeah,
when I don't know, and a lot of
yeah,
people feel like they can't, and you can.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It's right. Well, yeah. I'm having a lot of fun. AI is so dynamic that this actually is providing us the ability to almost take an index fund approach to AI for startups. And I'm seeing a lot of where the market is right now, but I'm not personally saying this is where I need to go as a founder. And I do think that there will be a time where just like through maybe it's like its own kind of like team that sits like reports up to this agency that is just like more startup focused, which we do. We ship our own products as well. But yeah,
Just the Chrome extension so far, or have you done others?
yeah, we shipped another one 2 weeks ago, which is the voice journal. It's a mobile application. You can download it yourself. It's called a record book. It was our
Nice.
attempt to learn more about how these voice models are interacting with folks, and it was really helpful for our learning.
But anyways, I didn't mean to keep you off or cut you off. Keep going. You were talking about how
Yeah,
you also build your own products and that you're almost like an index fund approach across what's happening in AI.
it's hard to know where the space is going. And while while I still want to be involved with the space, this feels like the best way for me to be able to do that. I may not get like the unicorn outcome in terms of valuation and like exiting, but that's not necessarily where my lifestyle goal is oriented around. If I can build a business that's doing like 50% margin, $5 to $6 million of annual revenue, that's great. And I can, at least today, see out in the next few years to be able to achieve that running an agency. I don't know. I'm learning as I go. How would you think about it? Do you have friends that are running agencies right now and thinking through this problem?
No, and you're one of the first agencies I've talked to about it, which is why I was excited to speak with you. And to be honest, I haven't even really dug in on the whys behind the people saying that the agencies will face increasing pressure. I guess it makes sense if you take stuff that historically has been done by humans and you give people the tools in-house to do more of it themselves, then at minimum there'll be pricing pressure, right? But yeah, no, it's just an area that I'm also still learning about. What about the mix? Do you think you'll be an agency for as far as the AI can see, or are you going to get more serious about the internal products? And what job are you hiring the internal products to do? You mentioned learning, so maybe that's the job. But do you have any commercial aspirations with those products as well?
Yeah, totally. I think there's a world where it's like running both businesses at the same time, where we just have our product incubations team and we have our agency team, and they go together in really fun ways because we're learning so much working with founders. And if we build more, then we can help our founders a lot more too, and our creators, because we're just actually building it versus just talking about it or building it for other folks. Listen, Jason, if one of these product incubations end up just really crushing it and we really nail distribution, I'm happy to allocate a good portion of our team to just focus on that product. And so I think part of this idea of helping creators is I get to learn more about distribution and I get to learn about the new way to be able to sell products, which is TikTok and YouTube and creating content. And so it's like this interesting, like I'm learning how to distribute my products better because I'm working with people that know how to do that really well. So I'm okay, cool. Maybe we do try TikTok. Maybe we do try just like product that I think no one really heard about yet to promote our application. And yeah, I think if we can nail distribution for one of these products, I'm happy to allocate a lot of my time towards it. There's also there's really cool functionality coming out this year that I think that I'm finally feeling very confident about. Like, okay, that could be a really good bet. And it's like the intersection of all of these models coming together and what the use cases could be for that. It's like multimodal models, terrible wording, but that finally has piqued my interest in terms of, okay, I think I could see myself really going heads down on this area. But so far, still excited about building the agency.
What's excited about? Uh, my sinus infection is inhibiting my ability to ask clear questions. But what is exciting about these multimodal models?
Yeah. It's just a new way of interacting with your computers and your software. There's a really good demo that Google launched, I think about a month ago. So I can link it to you later, Jason. But you see the demo that you see is individual sharing their screen and having conversation with a bot that's just helping you do your job better. And so like why that's interesting, and we've been hacking away on a couple of these products ourselves. Why it's been interesting for me is that it's all just coming together really easily. Now I can just screen share. I have a guy that's looking at my screen. I can open my camera, I can look at me. I can go through the products and they could guide me through it and everything. So think like any onboarding use cases or any like FAQ or any kind of help centers, or I don't know why like you ever need to read necessarily a help center before. It should just be like someone like guiding you through it, right? But instead of that like Salesforce admin expert that's sitting in the corner of your office, it's going to be these agents that have all of these connected. They can speak to you via the voice model functionality. They can look at the screen and look at you from like computer vision functionality. They can connect to the internet from like search functionality. You can upload a bunch of data and they can like leverage RAG to be able to present it to you. So it's all of it coming together in an interesting way, which I think, yeah, using these tools have had my next BT moment. And I haven't actually felt that for a while. Of, oh, this is going to be the new way that we interact with technology. What the heck can you do with this thing? So yeah, that's been pretty exciting for me as of late.
Given how quickly the landscape's evolving in terms of the number of tools, the types of tools, the capability with those tools, et cetera, how do you find you stay on top of what's happening internally? And do you try to be generalists and get to know every tool, or do you have standard tools that you've relied on consistently and a playbook, if you will, that you lean on time and time again?
And clarifying question, do you mean tools that we use internally, or do you mean maybe types like within broader AI, like where we try to specialize on voice or
Could be
modal?
either, to be honest. Yeah, it could be tools you're using internally to build, or it could be tools that you're incorporating into products for your clients
Yeah,
or on your own. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the landscape is evolving quickly across both of those dimensions.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Maybe internal, then external. Internal, I really like using V0. It's like have you used V0 before? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've messed around
Um,
with it a little bit, but I haven't
yeah,
used anything seriously, which I
yeah,
keep meaning to address, but I'm a little booked in my zone of excellence as we've
yeah,
been discussing.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes someone asks me like, oh, what are all the tools to use? I'm like, just use ChatGPT better. Maybe you don't need to use everything. Maybe you just really focus on one and get really good at it and stop being like, there's so much to
Yeah.
do. That's so for me, it's not a lot of internal tools, frankly. It's like V0, and then I know my engineering team uses Cursor to be able to build product faster. And then I use ChatGPT, deep research, like browsing, like every day. And so I actually don't use a lot of these internal, that's my stack right now, effectively. Externally, I think the two use cases that I'm excited to help recommend to our clients is around voice interaction, and then an extension like I just mentioned around multimodal interaction. So it may not be a perfect fit for the use case that they want to develop or deploy, but I'm always pushing them to think about what's a way to be able to interact with this product via voice. I don't know if I think if we could have used our voice versus learning how to type, we would have just done that. But the technology wasn't there yet. So I think the future of software is going to be a lot of interaction, a lot of voice typing when needed. And so I'm always like looking for how I can integrate voice for those products. And then now over time, it'll be how we can integrate voice plus vision plus all these other pieces for multimodal.
How do you get new business?
All of our leads come from LinkedIn. I haven't done any outbound sales or anything just yet, which is good. Which has been mostly good. I had a mentor of mine tell me that's a dumb answer because you need to be outbound is forcing us to be more focused on our ICP. And so now as we like scale up the team, I'm going to start doing outbound. But yeah, it's all LinkedIn content.
What do you think about using AI on the go-to-market side and potential versus pitfalls there?
Yeah, maybe I'd split it into like inbound, outbound as a simple kind of framing. I think outbound is where people are leaning really heavily of these like SDR AI tools and leveraging Apollo and Lemlist and all these platforms. I think there's a lot of value there. I do see all these emails come in myself from people that are likely using these things, and I just like immediately discredit them just as a potential buyer of these solutions. So I'm sure it's worth it. I'm sure it has a place, and people are going to be using these outbound tools to be able to get a hold of people. But at least with regards to email, it feels like I don't know, it's just a graveyard out there. I, if people were asking, I would actually do outbound via voice. Speaking of, I would maybe even try leveraging your original voice plus AI to be able to cold call people, cold voicemail people, have an interaction with the bot. I would try that if I was doing outbound. So that's like the outbound side in terms of AI functionality. Inbound, how I define inbound is effectively content creation. And for that, for me, my content creation engine is really oriented around my meeting transcripts. And so, how do I leverage my meeting notes across my internal team, but also with clients when given the approval for it, be able to leverage that to create content ideas for myself? And so, that actually is like a really nice way to be able to build like an engine to use meeting notes, transcribe them, leverage AI to be able to create content from it. That's been very
And
valuable for me.
any preferred tools for AI content creation?
For me, I use Fireflies in terms of my transcript. There's a company called Tone, which is putting together all of these pieces. And then I will take that to either Claude or ChatGPT to be able to come up with content ideas. And then I try to from there just go to Google Doc and start writing, typing versus just copying and pasting what it told me. But yeah, Tone is really good at being able to leverage meeting notes and create content from it. So I've been testing out that tool. It's been pretty helpful.
Cool. When you think directionally, are you going to stay bootstrapped for as far as the eye can see? Any thought of raising capital yourselves?
I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, honestly, as a venture person as of late. I think I feel more confident about potentially raising capital now. I think the first year and a bit felt like, let me just go figure my stuff out. And now with the creator focus, like there's a suite of products we can start building for them. There's like a platform we can start thinking about commonalities across these creators, start building for. So I think now that I have more focus, around our ICP, it's helping me think that, and we're starting to see the revenue uptick because of that. I'm like, okay, maybe actually there is a place for raising venture. But how would you think about it? It's also right now an agency, so venture doesn't really love those types of business models, which makes sense. But
Yeah, anything purely services is hard.
exactly.
And plus, why would you if you didn't need to? If you find that you're cutting into bone and there's these other things you want to do and you just can't get there fast enough, then maybe
Right.
consider it. But even then, I don't think venture is right. Now, if you had a product that you caught a tiger by the tail and you were going to spin that out into a company,
Exactly.
that's a different story.
Yeah.
Gosh, I had a question somewhere in there. Oh, have you looked at Slow Ventures Creator Fund at all?
Oh, I really want to connect with that team because they're focused on
coming
creators, right?
Megan's coming on the show. Yeah, and it's
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a really interesting because they have the same observation as you that people are brands, right? And people with followings and strong brands can launch products. And and in some ways I'm a creator, but I think, the thing back to your should you raise, one of the things I think about is, sure, if I had a small team, there's a lot to get done and I want that small team. And this is just like a journey. It's not a business. So I'd be crazy to fund that small team out of savings when I'm already worried about how I'm going to feed my family. So that doesn't make sense. Just, go raise. It's, but if you raise, then all of a sudden you have expectations and it needs to track to be X size to be interesting. And there's other voices at the table and like the whole flexibility and control is paramount. And fortunately I have some time right now. And the goal is to get it to a point where it's self-sustaining before I run out of time. But if I can do that and keep external voices out, I think that's better, unless I became convinced that they were so aligned around this bigger thing and so aligned both in terms of the what, but also the how. Yeah. And maybe that will come, but that's not where I am today.
I know we're at time, but that could also be like some of the services component for you too, right? Maybe there's some speaking engagements, or maybe there's some consulting that you can do to be able to get the profits, so then you can allocate that capital towards building product.
I'm not trying to get rich. I'm trying to feed the machine. In order to feed the machine, it takes resource. And in order to get resource, you need to generate the resource. You need a business model. And but business, I don't know. I'm just so free right now, and it's so unbridled, right? And business models in some ways are stifling, right?
They have to be a little bit, right?
And so I'm trying to relish this spot and just go get the flywheel spinning as fast and as powerfully as it can for as far as the eye can see until I start feeling real-time pressure. And then hopefully the business model will present before I get there. But if not, then we'll see.
You should lean into what it's worth, like short form video from like your podcast. I think that's I actually think the value of podcasts are to have the longer form conversation or relationship building that happens with your guests first. And then second is like the clips that you can create from it and then be able to share that.
I post some on YouTube Shorts, but I just hit a button in Riverside that says generate magic clips. And then I might tune it a little bit to the left or the right. And then, but even then it takes me a good amount of time, but then I'll just slap it up there. So like I read somewhere, you should care about thumbnails and descriptions, and I don't do
so much.
Yeah,
I was thinking LinkedIn.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm already posting too much on LinkedIn, though.
They like video. They like video these days. So you could just put the video, put the copy in there. But yeah, that's another conversation.
Hey Jay, for anyone listening that's intrigued by your work, who do you want to hear from, and what would be most helpful for you?
Yeah. You can find us on Casper Studios at XYZ, or just hit me up, Jay Singh, on LinkedIn. I'm anybody that's that established creator that's looking to be able to monetize their audience through software development. We're working with some pretty large ones right now that I'm excited to be able to share in a couple months. But I'd be really excited to be able to share some insights on ways that we can help you too.
Sounds great. Anything I didn't ask that you wish I did, or any parting words?
No, that's good. Feeling good.
Thanks for coming on. Congrats on what you've built, and excited to see how it progresses and to watch your progress.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you for tuning in to The Next. If you enjoyed it, you can subscribe from your favorite podcast player. In addition to the podcast, which typically publishes weekly, there's also a weekly newsletter on Substack at thenextnext.substack.com. That's essentially for weekly accountability of the ground I'm covering, areas I'm tackling next, and where I could use some help as well. And it's a great area to foster discussion and dialogue around the topics that we cover on the show. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.